People, don't you know what this is? This is Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp on Wildcat 91.9. Good evening, Manhattan, Wamego, Junction City, and anywhere the internet has enveloped you in its cold embrace. Welcome to Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp, yours truly behind the gray microphone, high atop the music department and McCain Auditorium, located on McCain Drive in the heart of the campus of Kansas State University, in the core of the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas. It is a great day to be a Wildcat. We say it every day. I'm going to always say it. That's my mantra for this show. Hey, really kind of fun stuff. If you want to go and you want to watch the show as we see it, so like studio side, I am now posting all of my training camps from this last Monday, from now all the way up till now, and then through the rest of however long I do training camp at Kansas State. It will be on my YouTube page. You can go check it out at www.kolbyvancamp.com. That's where you can find it. Also on wildcat919.com as well. That's www.wildcat919.com. So that's kind of fun. And then I've also been putting up this as a podcast on anchor.fm. You can find me there. And then also you can find some of the interviews I did. I put the Wyatt Thompson interview out on the YouTube page as well. So go give that a lookaroo, give that a like. You don't necessarily need to subscribe. I just need you to look at it. That's about it. So I'm happy to be joined by Jazsmin Halliburton and Anthony Georges here in the studio today. Also, before I forget, two things. The first is I just want to encourage you, my listeners. I've been kind of on a thing recently where I've been wanting to provide encouragement for some people, and I wanted to share with you, there's this book that I'm reading right now. It's called The Power of One More. The idea is you send one more email, you talk to one more person, you write one more sentence in the paragraph of the paper that is due whenever. You just do one more thing and you train your brain. If you can do one more of whatever you just did, you're exponentially going to get better at your life, at everything that you do. That is true. It follows science. It's the law of averages. You can't get away from it. It's like a logarithm. You will exponentially get better and achieve more things if you do that. And it's super simple. It's just kind of like, hey, I did 4 reps in my final set today on the bench press. It's my last lift. I'm really tired. Can I get one more? The power of one more. And it's simple, it's easy. Just give that a shot. I think it's a really great philosophy, and it's been very successful for me as of late. I felt way more productive. So that's my encouragement to you for today. Also, if you're a student who's coming to Kansas State University, if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, graduate student, doctoral student, I don't care who you are or what you do, you need to come and be a part of Wildcat 91.9. We're looking for some people to show up and call some games for us. We're looking for some opportunities just around the station. If you want to get into radio, hit us up, all right? Go check us out. You can find us www.wildcat919.com. Just go to the little contact page, and there is a box. You can just fill it out, and that email will come directly to us. And we want to get to know you. It's super easy if you're a student at Kansas State. If not, then you just have to enjoy us from a distance. But that's okay. That's cool too. All right. Now, I've hit all of the stuff that I wanted to talk about in the pre. But now, sports around the U.S. of A. The Cleveland Browns expect to start Deshaun Watson at quarterback in the preseason opener at Jacksonville, which is, I think, extremely controversial because there was a bunch of stuff that was filed recently. Even the commissioner of the NFL was kind of like, yeah, there should be an indefinite ban on Deshaun Watson. But the judge that made the call only said that it was going to be, like 6 games?
Just 6 games. I talked about this on my show that I was covering for your show. On Friday.
On Friday, okay.
A lot of in-depth stuff.
There's a lot of in-depth stuff. So go listen to. Did you put it on Spotify?
I did.
You did.
I did.
Oh, nice little run it back. Go check that out on Spotify. Run it back with Jazsmin Halliburton. So the Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson is expected to start Friday's preseason opener against the Jaguars. The team made the announcement Wednesday, just before boarding a flight to Jacksonville, Florida. I love that. They're like, we're gonna drop something controversial, and then we're not gonna pay attention to you for 2 hours because we're gonna get on an airplane. Nice. Watson and the Browns are waiting to see whether he will be suspended longer than the 6-game suspension that he was handed for violating the personal conduct policy by disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson last week. On August 3rd, the NFL appealed Robinson's ruling as it seeks a tougher punishment for Watson. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has appointed former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey to hear the appeal. I don't even know how the law works for the whole NFL and people doing illegal things. I don't know. It seems like they have their own collection of people that, whatever. I don't understand. But that's okay. So Deshaun Watson, if you didn't know, had dummy amount of allegations. 25. Thank you. Brought against him for
sexual misconduct.
Yeah, sexual misconduct
and allegations and all
there was
that stuff.
This is really terrible. But there was this meme that I saw on I think it was like House of Highlights or something. I don't remember. It was on some sports Instagram page that I follow that said that Deshaun Watson specifically asked to be traded to the Cleveland Browns because the like national convention of like female massage therapists or something was going to be in Cleveland, and that was a terrible joke. But at the same time, like I think that kind of, I don't know, like it's just, there's definitely some like predatory nature there and it's it like kind of made a joke about that, but also like oof, like the fact that people are out there making jokes at your expense because of that says, I think, a lot about where he's currently at in his life. And I don't think that's a great place.
No, because he's grimy and he's weird.
Yeah.
Jazsmin, he's grimy and he's weird.
You, how do you really feel? Like just...
Oh, okay. I said this out loud on Friday, and I'll say it again. I never wished more for anyone's downfall more than Deshaun Watson or the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Absolutely. I say with my whole chest. I don't care. Come at me. You do it. Do it again. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. So pretty much that's how I feel about Deshaun Watson.
Okay, so in the words of Jazsmin, we got a big old for his career. There we go. Okay. Shoot. Okay. I hope that joke wasn't offensive. Like when I said that, like I kind of laughed out of it, and then I can see why people wouldn't laugh about that. But also, it's in my personality to like try and chuckle about really terrible things, because if not, that really weighs me down. And in fact, my wife is always like, if we get in an argument, she's like, "Why are you laughing?" And I'm like, because I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. It's either be like really upset or laugh. So I choose to laugh. It's a more natural thing to me. So, but it is not a laughing matter. I agree with that 100%. Thank you, Jazsmin, for keeping us in line there. So yeah, we'll see what on earth is happening, but it does seem kind of weak that the Cleveland Browns, like, he gets a 6-game regular season suspension, so let's put him out in the preseason.
I'll tell you this, like, even the Cleveland Browns weren't expecting him to just get 6 games, because if you look at his contract, which is, what was it, $230 million for 5 years, and
all
how it's
guaranteed.
All guaranteed, by the way. Yes, thank you, Anthony. That even if you look at how it's constructed, he only gets paid his first year like $1 million. So they already were prepared for him to be suspended for an entire year. And so even the Cleveland Browns thought he was going to be gone for an entire year.
That's absolutely wild. That even though they expected him to be suspended for the entire year, they still gave him $1 million.
That's why I wish for their downfall as well.
And the craziest thing about this whole situation they've had going on for months is they've never like shied away from it. They actively defend him like every single time.
They came out with a statement that he was remorseful, but Deshaun Watson has said he's done nothing wrong. So if he's done nothing wrong, why are you putting out a statement that he's remorseful?
Neither side is like admitting that there was any sort of misconduct.
Something happens.
By this, they're basically saying, hey, we don't care. In my own opinion here, by putting him out at the preseason game, obviously they want to be good again. But they're saying, we don't care about your personal life. We know you're good at football, so just help us win games.
Yeah.
And they look stupid for doing
and
so.
And look what's been happening to them. Like, besides their like immediate fan base following, everybody else has like turned their backs.
Yeah, because
and what else did you expect?
Exactly, I don't know, because I've talked about this before several times, whenever I talk about Deshaun Watson on my shows. It's like, this whole thing is not going to go away, because, of course, you have Roger Goodell saying, like, hey, want to appeal for these, 6 games, that it should be more. And then I'm assuming Deshaun Watson is going to want to appeal for something that's going to be less than what Roger Goodell wants, and it's going to be a whole it's going to be
like a 2 or 3 year deal.
Yeah, it's going to take a very, very long time.
It's going to be like Marshawn Lynch waiting to see for 2 years what's going to happen with his DUI.
Yeah, and even more recently, because they use this as an example, Ezekiel Elliott in I think 2017, where he had a 6-game suspension. But he was trying to appeal that, and that suspension would not start until everything is said and done. So even though that Deshaun Watson does have like a 6-game suspension, and they're trying to appeal
so it's
it.
not
Nothing,
until the ruling
it is not until the ruling is complete. So he can very well still play week 1 and not have to wait 6 games until it is set in stone that he's going to be suspended for this amount of time.
Well, this is the same.
Speaks,
this is the same situation going on with Frank Clark and the Chiefs. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was like last offseason he was pulled over and he had a gun in his car. He's a felon. You can't have a gun in California. So, and he got pulled over for it. So instantly it was like, okay, he's going to get suspended. Nope. Guess what? Delay the court hearing. And again, it was like later on in the football season. Now we're going to push it off till after the football season. Now it comes up again a couple months ago. You know what? We're going to go ahead and delay this again. It's just a never-ending process.
It's going to be a never-ending process.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same process going on right now with Alvin Kamara. Out in Vegas after the Pro Bowl, he was arrested in the Pro Bowl locker room because he assaulted somebody the night of the Pro Bowl. And he has postponed his court hearing now twice. So it's like, if you're an NFL player, just keep brushing it off. Eventually it's going to catch up to you, but in the meantime,
but this one
they're
is
just going to keep letting
take
you play.
longer because as far as like all the things that you listed, what Deshaun Watson is being accused of and what he's done, he's done something. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a whole bunch. And 66 therapists in 17 months. I'm sorry, that's weird. But anywho, beyond that, this is something that's worse than anything that you listed, Anthony, what these other players are doing. So that's how it's just going to be. I feel like there might not be an end in sight to this. We don't really know unless Deshaun Watson, surprises everybody and doesn't appeal for what Roger Goodell is wanting for at the very least, gone one season, if not indefinitely. So I would be very surprised if Deshaun Watson doesn't, because he's been on this whole thing like that. I'm innocent and I didn't do anything. But that's the only way that I could see it not lasting forever is if he just, okay, I'll be gone for a year.
My biggest question now is, let's say somehow, some way, he only gets suspended for 12 games. So, almost 3/4 of the season. How do you justify that to Calvin Ridley? Like, the man bet $1,500 on a game. Yeah, he shouldn't have bet, but he wasn't playing. $1,500.
Wasn't even with the team, and he was betting on them to win. No outcome. He could have no outcome. But
and he got the full year.
He got the full year suspension.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing that on Twitter. He was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?"
Yes.
Like he totally came after the and rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully
what he
so.
did was wrong, absolutely. But we all thought a year is really extensive,
Yeah,
and now you add it to this. They were like, "What? Okay, now what's really the truth?"
That's the thing that bothers me about when justice gets in the middle of the NFL, because then it's no longer justice, right? It's like the just thing is that Deshaun Watson's suspension would be significantly longer than if the precedent is that this guy, what was his name? The guy that bet?
Calvin Ridley.
Okay.
Calvin Ridley, thank you. If Calvin Ridley gets a 1-year suspension for $1,500 bet on his team, then the justification for sexual misconduct, it should be like
cases.
It should be like a year for every case, right? So 25 season suspensions for Deshaun Watson, and then he's Tom Brady, but he would never play again, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it isn't just. There is no justice, and it's literally just like the Wild West. And we're out here just saying, oh, you get 6 weeks, and you get a year, and you get 4 days, and you get nothing, and we're just going to keep delaying your trial because you are important. I don't know. There's no... that it defies the idea of justice, and I think that's what really bothers me, because it's all about money.
It is.
It comes down to money. The average person, the government just passed a sweeping bill to allow 87,000 more IRS agents get brought into the world, and now they're gonna totally come after middle class America for this, and for a minor infraction that's unwitting on tax statements. But Deshaun Watson commits 66 counts or 25 counts of sexual misconduct and only gets suspended for 6 games. And the suspension doesn't occur until they bring the ruling, and then they might never bring the ruling because they keep pushing the court date back because Deshaun Watson's going to make them money. Just get out of here. It's not just. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing right about this.
No, you're right. And the same thing can go with recently with the Miami Dolphins owner trying to throw games to get a higher draft pick and stuff like that, and how his only punishment was he is suspended till October and a $1.5 million fine,
and then lose a draft pick.
A draft pick. That's it. That's literally it for that's affecting the game more than what Calvin Ridley did.
And the thing about Calvin Ridley, just if you're not familiar with the situation, he was away from the team for the whole year. He didn't play a snap.
He did not play a snap.
He said he needed some time away, so he took the whole year away. So, like, I understand. If he's in the locker room betting on his team,
yes,
all right,
that's
a problem. But he was away from the team for the whole year, and rumor has it he only bet $1,500. Like, I don't think that's a big deal.
No, and it shouldn't be a big deal, but here we are making a big deal out of it because we don't think about these kind of things. I don't know. It's dumb.
His name is forever going to be connected with Deshaun Watson and how that ruling started with him, like Deshaun Watson just getting 6 games and Calvin Ridley suspended for an entire year when the two things that they did wrong was drastically different than the other.
Yeah.
I
agree. Well, so interestingly enough, you talked about the loss of the draft pick for the Dolphins, and I thought it was hilarious because weren't they recently slapped with something for tampering with Tom Brady?
I think that goes with it as well.
Yeah,
was that? Okay,
that goes with it as well.
So I read an article yesterday that the only 3 first-round draft picks that have ever been forfeited in NFL history, all 3 of them have in connection with Tom Brady. Like tampering with Tom Brady, Deflategate, and the recording of the Jets signals on the sideline.
Yeah.
So 2 are both from the Patriots because they were cheating. And then okay, Deflategate is weak. Okay, like okay, whatever. Like who cares about Deflategate?
Even Tom Brady was suspended for that as well.
Recording
4 games.
Other teams like signals. Okay, that's dirty.
Very.
But then tampering. I don't even know. Whatever you want to call it, tampering, fine, because he was under contract. Great, but so they're tampering. So the only 3 first-round draft picks that have ever been forfeited in the NFL, all 3 of them have to do because there was a ruling due to Tom Brady.
And why am I not surprised?
Oh, we shouldn't be.
Not at all.
Not at all. My cousin Ben Jasonowski, if you hear this, you can come and bite me because he's a big Patriots and Tom Brady guy. And jeez, whatever. I say that out of love. He's my family, right? Okay. We'll be back in just a second. We got to get to the second segment where it's Whiskey Wednesday, and then Anthony's going to hit us with Chiefs Training Camp. You've been listening to Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp on Wildcat 91.9. Welcome back to Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp here on Wildcat 91.9, yours truly behind the gray microphone. I'm joined by my good friends Jazsmin Halliburton and Anthony Georges. Thanks for both being here today. And you know what? It's that time of the week. It's Whiskey Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm definitely serious. It's Whiskey Wednesday. I mean, what can I say? I mean, we're doing Whiskey Wednesday. Like, I don't need to explain this to you anymore, Adrian. Okay, sorry. I'm just having fun with my cartwheel. So essentially, if you have missed it for the last, we are in week 7 of Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp. Isn't that wild?
Yo.
That's kind of wild. I didn't think that it would like hit me like that, but it did. But so if you've missed it, Whiskey Wednesday, I pick a whiskey. I'm a whiskey connoisseur. I have a certification in bourbon from the Stave and Thief Society. So yeah, I kind of know something about it. And I have invested thousands of dollars in my private collection that I have at my place of residence. So my pick for today, I'm going to be picking a rye. And I know all of the whiskey connoisseurs that might be listening are going to kind of roll their eyes because this is a really standard rye. But honestly, all of my picks, I want my picks to be like achievable for the average person. I want you to be able to walk into the fridge and be able to like acquire this, or walk into Nespers or where, I don't care, anywhere in Manhattan. I want you to be able to go in there and purchase this because these are great picks. I think that I personally love these picks. So Michter's single barrel straight Kentucky rye. That's what I'm going with today. Really, so rye, the characteristic of rye is that it's really sharp. It kind of has this bite to it that bourbon does not typically have. Bourbon is 51% corn. That's like the legal, it has to be 51% corn in the mash bill. It can be whatever else that you want to put in there as a cereal grain. Interestingly enough, you get high rye bourbons. That means that like bourbon, 51% corn, the next highest percentage is rye. In the mash bill, that's a high rye bourbon. Larceny is actually a high rye bourbon, kind of interesting. I think Old Fitzgerald, is also like a high rye bourbon. And then there's also wheated bourbons. So like Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark is a wheated bourbon, which means 51% corn, mash bill, check your bourbon. And then the rest, the highest next percentage is wheat. So that's kind of interesting, wheated bourbon. But a straight rye is 100% rye. So and unless I'm missing something, and Michter's is not particularly forthcoming about this on their website. It just says straight rye, and I'm assuming that in this like sense, that straight is indicating that it's 100% rye. But I think for it to be called a rye whiskey, it has to be 100% rye. So rye whiskey, it's a 42.4% alcohol by volume. That's 84.8 proof. Remember, the proof, to get the alcohol by volume, you divide the proof in half, and that's what you get. You get 42.4%. So for a whiskey to legally be called whiskey, it has to be bottled at 40% alcohol by volume. So there you go. You got that extra 2.4% kick there. Interestingly enough, it says on their website here that it's fire charred New American white oak barrels. So that's kind of fun. And then according to Michter's, they have their tasting notes: spice with peppery notes, citrus, butterscotch, and oak. I guess. I mean, anytime that they say spice, it reminds me more of tea, like a spiced herbal tea. That's more of what I get from rye whiskeys. It definitely has that kick that you don't get from a wheated bourbon. Wheated bourbons are just really sweet, but like ryes specifically have that extra little nudge that go with them that I think are kind of interesting. It's definitely not my daily pour, but it definitely is something that I can get behind on a consistent basis, that I recommend to you that you can get behind on a consistent basis. I think it's also really approachable at that 42.4% alcohol by volume. It's not going to blow you out of the water in terms of what the taste is. It's just going to be pretty chill, and you get to take it. And then I'm very curious as to what your tasting notes are. Mine, typically, because it's a rye, so I get kind of that herbal tea. I also really, for Michter's, get the charred New American white oak barrels. I really do get that. Like, there's kind of like a fiery charred zip to it, but it's sweet at the same time. I don't know how else to explain it. It just is. It reminds me of like if you walked into a birch forest and you inhale and you can smell like the sweetness of the leaves, but then you also know that if you, for whatever crazy reason, like decided to lick a tree, it would be like kind of bitter. That's kind of what I get from that. That's super descriptive in a weird way, so I hope that you can follow me there. But yeah, so that's my Whiskey Wednesday take for the day. We are a dry campus on Kansas State University. We established this last week. BYU is drier than us, which is hilarious. But yes, we're a dry campus. There is no alcohol in the studio right now. However, I do enjoy alcohol on the side. So, cheers to you, my friends. Thank you. All right, so now let's go ahead and take a step over to Kansas City, the Chiefs, my guys. Anthony, you're going to be going to the Chiefs training camp. Is that correct?
Yes, next Wednesday, going to make a trip back up to St. Joe, Missouri. It's kind of been a tradition we've had ever since I was a kid. Just always gone, when I was younger. Take a football, take a hat, just have some of the players sign it. Now, mainly I just want to go and watch as a spectator. I still just enjoy watching practice, seeing how the first team's going to look. It'll be my first look at some of the new guys. I mean, yeah, you see, everybody sees it online. It's the tape of who Mahomes threw this day or who the defensive backs play, but it's just one of those things that it's kind of nostalgia for me to go up there to Missouri Western State and just hang out and watch practice. Like, you're watching everybody in their element. And, it's not 75, 80,000 people there. You're looking at a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, just hanging out. A lot of kids will hang out after practice, look for autographs and stuff like that. But I'm just going up just because I want to see.
If you see Patrick Mahomes, please give him somebody's card from the station, because I need to get an interview with him.
Well, funny story about Patrick Mahomes. So his first year starting, I drove, it's 5 hours from my parents' house to training camp up there in St. Joe, Missouri. I was dedicated. We always gone as a family. I decided I was going to go by myself on a Saturday morning. Drove all the way up there. Camp goes great. Have a great conversation with a bunch of different spectators and fans. I make my way down to the front row. I have a Chiefs hat that all these great players have signed. Derek Johnson, Jamal Charles, so many people. Travis Kelce signs my hat. Patrick Mahomes is just a couple behind him. He gets to me. This is no joke. Grabs my hat. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the videos, but it's a steep hill going down to the practice field. So they take him up on golf carts. And one of the drivers said, "Patrick, let's go," and whistled at him. And Mahomes, he had my hat in his hand. He just kind of flicked it back because there's hundreds of people flocking down to this thing. Kind of just, "Sorry guys," and just flicks my hat back into the crowd because, he's just, there's hundreds of people. He's been signing autographs for 10 to 20 minutes.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I got the hat back.
Okay.
He didn't sign it, though.
But that was so close.
But the same thing about this day, this is the craziest story. That day, Mahomes threw a couple of interceptions. It was just, the first practice open to the public. He threw a couple of interceptions. We had just traded Alex Smith, the Chiefs had. I texted my cousin. I said, "We're in trouble," in all caps. And look how wrong I was.
Well,
Goodness.
you can wear your cap of mediocrity, your signed cap of mediocrity on how wrong you were. No, I'm kidding.
Don't worry though. I am very happy to be wrong because it has been a tremendous ride, and we're going to talk about training camp here just because it's one of those things where it's the dead part of summer and there's always news coming out of the NFL. Jazsmin, I'm sure you've got a lot of stuff coming from Cowboys camp, but the Chiefs' first preseason game is literally 3 days away.
Yeah.
They go to Chicago. They take on the Bears this Saturday at 12 o'clock at Soldier Field. I think we're going to have a lot of questions answered on Saturday, believe it or not. A lot of these teams are setting out their star players. I understand you don't want to get them hurt, but you look at the last couple of years, your star players don't play. It takes them longer to get in game shape because you can have training camp, you can have a couple practices, but you're not getting the smash mouth football till you get out and face an opponent. You're not fully hitting each other every single snap. I think it does every player good to go out and get at least 1 or 2 series in. Andy Reid does that with the Chiefs every year. So I think on Saturday, we're going to see who Mahomes' favorite target is. We know Travis Kelce is his number one go-to guy. Is it Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Is it Juju Smith-Schuster? Is it Sky Moore? Because you've got all these reporters coming on Twitter saying, this guy's having a great day. Smith-Schuster's having a great day. Sky Moore's going to be the main man. This is what I'm most excited about going into the year, Kolby. I know you're a Chiefs guy too. It was when the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill. Initial reaction from me was, what are they doing?
Wait. There we go.
That's exactly. I was in the business building here at K-State when the news broke. And I remember I was just sitting there like, I can't believe this. And then now looking at it, I'm like, wow, this was really a smart move. Tyreek has, in his podcast, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It needed to be said.
I refuse to watch his podcast because I think he's a clown now. So.
I have watched a couple episodes and I'm like, wow, if he really felt this way, it might be a blessing that he's out of Kansas City because he has just been...
What a toxic person to have in the locker room.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe it's the reason the Chiefs restricted his media access for so long because he never hardly talked to the media. But now, instead of just having Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, you've got so many guys you could throw to. Sky Moore, Valdez-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster. You also add Travis Kelce in there. Noah Gray's the upcoming tight end. So there's so many different guys you can go to instead of just those two. So for that reason, I do believe the Chiefs upgraded at wide receiver despite the Tyreek Hill trade, and I'm looking forward to seeing it in person here when I go up to training camp next Wednesday.
Well, so it's interesting that you bring that up because we talked on this show, and I remember Jazsmin just kind of sat back and was like, all right, bro, you go. And I kind of went off on Tyreek. But the idea that Tyreek wants to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL, when I would say at least 50% of the interceptions that Patrick Mahomes had last year came because Tyreek Hill couldn't hold on to the freaking ball. They went through his hands, bounced off of him, and were intercepted. And I'm like, bro, if you want to be that guy, you better catch that freaking pass. You want to be paid, what do you want? $100 million? Isn't that what he wanted? Something crazy like that?
I think he's won close to $25-30 million a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I think he got.
I meant like a total package.
Yeah, I think I can't remember. It was close to that.
Yeah,
in the area.
It's something like that. But
closer to $80 million, I think, for 3 years.
I'm like, bro, you made Patrick Mahomes look bad because you couldn't hold on to the freaking ball at all last year. You had the one clutch play against the Bills in the greatest game of all time. That game was wild.
I was so fortunate to be at.
Yeah, that was
turn of emotions every 2 seconds. That would
have been incredible to be at that game. But it's okay, you had your your 2 clutch plays, and then after that, what did you do? What did you do? You didn't do anything except be a little whiny. I don't know.
Here's my take on Tyreek Hill. Very grateful for everything he did for the Chiefs because for the 6 years he was there, he was a star. My biggest gripe on Tyreek Hill for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and I've told this to my girlfriend, to my sisters, to my parents all the time whenever I'm watching a game, if you go back and watch the last couple of years, he cannot catch with his hands. You talk about all those interceptions he had.
Yeah.
It's because they went off of his hands. So you go back and you look at the 3rd and 15 pass in the Super Bowl. Should be able to catch with his hands. No, he corrals it with his body. The game against the Bills, corrals it with his body. So that's been my biggest issue with Tyreek the last couple of years is if Mahomes can put it in a place where only he can get it, all right, he'll catch with his body. But if he's got to make a hands catch, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And
we saw that on great display last year.
The Bills game, the first Bills game, dropped a pass, interception. Very next week against the Washington football team, in the red zone, off his hands, interception. We saw it against the Titans a couple of years ago. So I have no animosity towards Tyreek Hill while he was with the Chiefs. Now he's trying to bait people into talking bad about the Chiefs. He's obviously voicing his frustrations. The Chiefs offered him a big deal. Like, he wanted to get paid like $25, $26 million a year. But he said he's a team guy. I'm sorry, you're not a team guy for doing that.
No.
And he said I've never tried to be a diva. Well, if you're
are.
doing this podcast, you are becoming a diva.
You are. Like, just the hypocrisy of it is what makes me so mad. Like, he says one thing out the side of his face, and then the rest of his actions are completely opposite of what he said. And I'm like, do you think we're stupid? Like, no, we can see that you're a fake. Like, just shut up.
You want to know the only time that I will be, like, actively rooting for him? If Skylar Thompson makes it into the game with the Dolphins,
that's true.
I would love to see him throw like a 75-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. Other than that, it's like, you know what? You're no longer a member of the Chiefs. You've talked some smack about Kansas City. All right, good luck. Thanks for all your time. But if Skylar Thompson does see the field, I would root for the Dolphins.
Also,
Chiefs are still number 1, but I would be happy for Skylar Thompson.
R.I.P. to Skylar Thompson, because for all of training camp, he threw no picks. And then everybody was like, on social media, like, bro, Skylar Thompson hasn't thrown any picks. Next day, 2 picks. I was like, oh, he read his press clippings. R.I.P. No, it's okay. Skylar, we all believe in you. You're going to do great stuff down there in Miami.
If Tyreek's going to shine, hopefully it's because Skylar's throwing the ball.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reports that I keep seeing, because I loosely follow the Dolphins specifically because of Skylar Thompson. Like, I remember Colin Klein, I remember L. Roberson, I remember Jake Waters, I remember Joe Huebner. I remember all of these guys, Bazooka Joe, like that came to K-State and were quarterbacks, right? Jesse Ertz in like the 3 games that he played, but Skylar Thompson is my quarterback, man. Like, Skylar Thompson threw that dart to seal the Iowa State game. I was sick that game. I had tickets to go that game. I was sick that game. It's the last game of the season. My mom called me freaking out from the stadium. I jumped up. I felt like trash. And my buddy Andy was there, and we're watching on the TV. Skylar rolls out to the left. Here comes the linebacker. Iowa State's up. Time expires. He rolls out to the right. There in the corner. Was it Pringle? Did he have
Zuber.
It was Isaiah Zuber. Thank you. Bam. Dart. Game's over. Then he runs into Dalton Reisner, and they both knock each other over. That was really funny. But, like, oh my gosh.
Have you guys ever heard the call of that game from K-State's broadcasters?
Yeah.
I love it because Wyatt Thompson's he's loving it. He's got a great call. And then you get Stan Weber just absolutely losing his mind. It's awesome. I love it.
Stan going wild. Well, so, like, Skylar Thompson was my quarterback, man. Like, he came in. He did that my freshman year at K-State. That was my freshman year. 2017 was the first semester freshman year for me at K-State. And it was like, I never felt more connected with K-State athletics than when I started being a student at Kansas State. And obviously, I've never felt more connected now that, like, I get to call games, I get to do stuff with the radio station, I get to, like, have, like, people on the show. Like, that's crazy. It's a wonderful blessing, great opportunity. But still, I don't know. I have mad respect for Skylar Thompson. Dude's a gamer.
And especially after all the injuries he's gone through.
Yeah.
It would have been so easy just to be like, you know what? I've done everything I could. It's not on my side. But instead, he goes, in the 7th round?
Yeah.
And he's making a strong showing down there. Obviously, not going to be the number 1 man coming out. But to his injury prone, if he's got some issues, Teddy Bridgewater, who's kind of the next man in line, he's up in the air. So there's a possibility he could see some regular season snaps this season.
I think that if he shows up and takes some meaningful snaps in preseason play, Skylar Thompson might overtake Teddy Bridgewater to be the number 2 guy. Because all I read out of, like, the Miami sports stuff is that Skylar Thompson potentially has the strongest arm out of all of them. I'm like, duh. I've been watching it for 6 years. So,
but out of that whole thing, Tyreek Hill says Tua is the most accurate quarterback
Oh,
in the
whatever.
NFL.
Just get out of here, Tyreek. I have nothing to say to you. We'll be back in just a second. You'll be listening to Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp on Wildcat 91.9. The most accurate arm in the NFL. Just get out of here. Like, that just makes me so upset. Like, okay, if Tua has the most accurate arm in the NFL, then you have the weakest hands in the NFL. How about that? You want to go with hyperbole? Let's go with hyperbole. You're a freaking moron.
Poor Tua, because Tyreek's talking all this hype
on
Tua's
Tua,
gonna
look stupid.
and he's just like,
Yeah,
like, bro, this is like, what if I as soon as he makes his like first interception, that might be like a dummy move. He's gonna get killed more than he probably would have last year.
The minute that he makes his first interception off of a drop pass that Tyreek bounced off his freaking gloves, then he's gonna be like, Tua's not the most accurate. I was wrong. Tua's not the most accurate quarterback. I'm gonna be like, you're disgusting. Like, I legitimately despise you now.
I bet you his Twitter mentions were through the roof yesterday, because did you guys see the video at training camp where Mahomes threw the ball behind his back and hit off the goalpost, and followed that up with a left-handed pass that hit off the goalpost, and it was like, and someone said, "Can Tua do this?" And then he tagged Tyreek Hill. So it might have been a day like, he was feeling like Trayvon Diggs. We should just get off Twitter.
Oh,
you see Trayvon Diggs?
Yes, I saw that he deleted his Twitter
because he got burned by third string.
Simi Fioco. He had a rough day of practice that day. There's no doubt about that. But goodness gracious. Everyone gets cooked. It's training camp. My goodness.
Ain't no reason to
but we already knew. It's Trayvon Diggs. Everyone already did not like him.
You know what? And you know what? There's like friendly trash talking. Like, I can kind of get behind that. I mean, we at Wildcat 91.9 like friendly trash talk KU all the time. I unfriendly trash talk KU all the time. So like, I can't even say. But like, when you're a professional athlete and you just go out there and you just talk smack all the time, I'm like, I hope you get run over by a dump truck. Like I hope that you couldn't hear a dump truck in a nitroglycerin plant. You are that like tuned out of like what is going on around you. Like, it is so upsetting to me. And then you got clowns like Tyreek that are like, oh, Tua's got all this. I'm like, get out of here, man. You are the certifiable most stupid expert in your field, maybe ever, if that's the claim that you're making. So congratulations. You get the PhD for worst take in the NFL this year. All right, I got to go to college football because this NFL business is going to just make me mad. And the more we talk about Tyreek, the more I feel like chucking my hat across the room at the camera that's set up to record the YouTube video for today. Okay. Wow, I said that out loud. All right. So South Bend. Notre Dame. This just makes me mad too. But Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick said that the coming Big Ten television contract with NBC is a perfect way for the network to complement its deal with the Fighting Irish. Okay, I think this is code for Notre Dame is going to join the Big Ten. I just think it is. The Big Ten, that is literally, they pulled in USC and UCLA. I think they're playing, while everyone else is playing checkers, they're playing chess. And I think that was the move that they wanted to make to try and get Notre Dame to show up, because everybody talks about Rose Bowl games with Notre Dame and USC. Everybody talks about Notre Dame, Michigan. Everybody talks about Notre Dame and Navy. They talk about all of these games that Notre Dame ends up playing pretty regularly. But then USC moves over to the Big Ten. Now it just makes sense from a rivalry standpoint, let alone to let Notre Dame into the Big Ten. I think it's going to happen. I really do think it will. So Swarbrick held, this is according to the Associated Press, by the way, Swarbrick held a live online chat. I mean, why can't we say what the platform was? Like, that just bothers me as well. It's like a live online chat on what? 4chan? Like, I mean, what is he holding the chat on? Just say he held a chat on Twitter. He held a chat on Facebook. But no, it's a live online chat for Notre Dame's Alumni Association Wednesday, during which he addressed recent developments with the Big Ten and how they could impact the school's ability to remain a football independent. Big Ten's new media rights deal are not yet finalized, but the conference is moving towards contracts with Fox, NBC, and CBS. The league has also said it is having discussions with streaming services to televise its game. NBC had exclusive rights to broadcast Notre Dame home games since 1991. The latest iteration of that deal runs through 2025. Swarbrick called the Big Ten strategy brilliant, and he said he's expected the value of the deals will be pretty amazing for the conference, but it's also perfect for Notre Dame. Swarbrick said, we need NBC to have more college football to more effectively promote our games and to talk about our games, and to have NBC be seen in that light, which he means is our light, because he kept saying our, me, we, our. So that was great for us. Plus, sorry, I forgot that one in there. That's a big piece of this. Notre Dame's going to the Big Ten. And if you can't see that, the writing is on the wall. And okay, it's all about money. Just shut up and take the money. Although I will say, Notre Dame ends up in the Big Ten. Hilarious to me because a certain decommit from K-State is going to get pounded in the Big Ten then as a Notre Dame player. So bye. Go get wrecked by Ohio State every year. I would love to see that.
You see, this is because I thought about this because you can argue the reason why Notre Dame has been fairly successful is that they get to build their own schedules because they were independent. Notre Dame football.
Yeah.
But now if they kind of levy all of that and go to the Big Ten, I don't see their path to going into the top 5 in the college football playoffs being as easy as it was when they got to cherry pick their own schedule.
This is the same conversation we were having yesterday about USC.
Yes, exactly. So, but now the Big Ten obviously going to be a lot tougher than the Pac-12, but that's of course USC's only days are limited in the Pac-12, and that's still another team that Notre Dame is going to have to go through, and vice versa with USC. But it's just going to diminish the fact that who knows where they'd be right now in 20 years, because this is all, like you said, it's all about money. That's all anyone cares about here is money. But their powerhouse of being we are Notre Dame, is that really going to stick in like 20 years when they do get constantly pounded by Ohio State and possibly the likes of Michigan on a regular basis?
Ohio State, Michigan State, Purdue,
everybody,
Wisconsin,
everybody might get a chance to eat against Notre Dame, and that's why I'm saying
State.
They don't know if their prestige will last another 20 years.
It won't, and I hope it gets tarnished, frankly. Like, the only time that I want to do anything with Notre Dame is when I'm coaching them in NCAA 14. That's about the only time I have anything to do with the Fighting Irish. Or I'm watching Rudy, which is kind of a family tradition that we have. Nick Rolovich, he's the former Washington State football coach, files a $25 million wrongful termination claim because he was fired last year for not getting vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, I actively avoid this conversation because it tends to blow up in people's faces when they try to pick a side or whatever. I definitely have a side that I have picked. I don't want to necessarily reveal what side that I have picked, but if Kyrie Irving can get an extension from the Nets in New York City, one of the most uptight states in the union, about getting vaccinated, after he missed half of the games for the 2021 season, or 2020 season, whatever, because he was not vaccinated, but Washington State fires their head coach because he wasn't vaccinated, maybe you should get sued. That's all I'm saying. Maybe he has something for a wrongful termination claim. Because frankly, I don't even know why the NCAA, and I try to say this as neutrally as possible, but I don't know why the NCAA thinks that they have a right to mandate that to people. They don't. So that doesn't really jive with me. But okay, so very interesting to see how that turns out. $25 million.
Has he been picked up to coach anywhere else?
I don't know. I didn't read the rest of the article. I just read the first part that it said.
I'm reading it now. I don't think he has
so.
been.
No, it doesn't say that he has.
There's another avenue
the
for
main,
him if he explores it.
If he does get successful in this suit, he has to prove that was the only reason that he got fired. But if he was like a trash coach and then this on top of it, then that could have been it. And they just have to specifically prove that the reason that he was terminated was because of the vaccine and not because their record before he got fired.
Fair enough.
He's only, I think see at the bottom, he's under a 5-year contract. He had 3 seasons remaining before he got fired.
Oof. Yeah, so I mean, it's very unlikely for you to fire a coach 2 years in his contract. Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's a case to be made there. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to lobby for not being vaccinated. I'm not trying to lobby for being vaccinated. Frankly, you do whatever the heck you want to do. But I do think that it's draconian that the NCAA and Washington State fired their head coach because he made a choice about himself. So, okay, whatever. But as we can see, the NCAA, the NFL, when it comes to their form of justice is not justice and has nothing to do with anything that is just. So, whatever. Okay, now we're going to go over to Wake Forest. So, David M. Hale, ESPN staff writer. Wake Forest will be without starting quarterback Sam Hartman for, quote, an extended period of time because of a non-football related issue, the school announced Wednesday, but head coach Dave Clawson insisted Hartman will return at some point this season. Clawson said Hartman underwent a medical procedure Tuesday night after seeking medical attention during a workout earlier in the day. The school did not specify the nature of the situation, citing privacy laws, but Clausen said it was one of those things that could happen to any of us. I wonder if he had like a heart issue that nobody knew about. Like 20 years ago, there and part of the complex here at KC is named for him, but there was a guy who was a football player who had a heart condition that they missed in his physical, and Bill Snyder was coach, and they were coaching, and he just dropped dead one day, like in the middle of practice, like at what is now Bill Snyder Family Stadium, just keeled over and died. Like, so tragic. So yeah, I don't know, as someone who has a heart condition, and it's not serious, but as someone who does have a heart condition that could be inflamed and made serious by a sport like football, like I definitely identify with this kind of like, oh man, felt something wrong with my chest, I'm out, you know, like I totally get that. But also, if it was serious enough they had to undergo a medical procedure, I hope that he's okay. Clausen said he did not want to speculate on a timetable for Hartman's return, but the quarterback who accounted for 50 touchdowns last season, so that's a Heisman winning touchdown number. Okay, so was he even in the Heisman race? I don't think so. He wasn't a finalist, was he?
No, I think it was kid from Alabama whose name
Bryce Young.
Yeah, Bryce Young.
Yeah, I know Bryce Young won it.
Yeah, Bryce Young won it, and then the defensive end from Michigan, and then C.J. Stroud from Ohio State. Those were I think the finalists.
Aiden Hutchinson too.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay.
So I think those are the top three.
So I clicked on his name, and last year he accounted for 4,228 passing yards, 39 touchdowns. So that means that he had 11 rushing touchdowns. So 39 passing touchdowns, but he did have 14 picks. So I bet that kind of dented his resume. He had a 79.7 QBR. So I bet that had something to do with it. And then also, here's an opportunity for me to hate on my favorite team to hate on. And I'm going for it. Yes, ESPN, I know you're increasing your prices. Screw you for that. It's an ESPN Plus article, and it's like, are you aware that we're raising our prices? Yes, I'm distinctly aware. Now go away. And it's because that you lost your media rights to the Big Ten. Okay. A preseason number 1 pick by many on the field, Alabama also now heads into the fall once again in competition for the top-ranked recruiting class. This is according to Greg Halbert, also ESPN staff writer. Shortly after breaking into the top 10, the Clemson Tide leap into the number 2 spot thanks to multiple ESPN 300 prospects, already holding a commitment from number 2 ranked running back Justice Haynes. They also added the nation's top back in Richard Young, an explosive and slashing runner with good balance and a competitive demeanor. Another potential impact pickup came from the commitment of number 1 ranked safety Caleb Downs, an aggressive, hard-hitting presence in the secondary. Alabama now has commitments from 8 players who rank among the top 5 in their positions, as well as the top 3 players from the talent-rich Georgia. That's wild. Oklahoma and Miami, both jumped into the top 10 as well. Sooners coach Brent Venables, a longtime defensive coordinator, has continued to stack top talent on that side of the ball. On that side of the ball, with commitments from Derek LeBlanc and Colton Vasek, a pair of ESPN 300 defensive linemen. So currently leading the charge, Notre Dame, Fighting Irish. They have 16 ESPN 300 commits. That is wild. They have their top pick is wide receiver Braylon James. He's number 54 overall. And then the top defensive end, Keon Keeley, number 24. Just for reference, as of yesterday, Kansas State is sitting at 41st in the recruiting class. But frankly, if we get anywhere close to the top 5, the top 25, that's a win for Kansas State. So if we break into if there's a 3 in the first number, I don't care if it's 30 through 39, that's a win for Kansas State. That's a massive win for Kansas State. Being in the top 50 is a massive win for Kansas State, but I think we have the opportunity to be way up there. Alabama comes in at number 2. They have 14 ESPN 300 commits. Their top offensive commit is the quarterback Eli Holstein. He's a number 13 overall. Top defensive safety Caleb Downs. He's number 16. And then my favorite team to just hate on, the Texas Longhorns. ESPN 300 commits at 11. Their top offensive commit, quarterback Arch Manning, who is now the number 2 recruit in the country, and rightfully so. He should be like the number 40 recruit in the country. He is a 3-star quarterback. You can fight me for that. Arch Manning is a 3-star quarterback. He has no business being in the top 10. He has no business being recruited by Alabama, by Georgia, by Texas Longhorns. He's literally like the Kennedys. The only reason that he is there is because his last name is Manning. Okay? That's it. That is it. When Sports Illustrated drops a paper on this, and everybody says, Nah, Sports Illustrated doesn't know what they're doing. You're stupid. Like, that is what is happening. Arch Manning is going to drop a big fat egg at Texas. If he doesn't, I will publicly apologize to him for that. But that is a bet and a challenge I am willing to take because it is not happening. It's not happening. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. My hate for Texas, I'm gonna say this right now, as we have a minute and a half left. My hate for Texas comes from a guy I used to go to church with. His name was Aaron. He used to come at me at church. If Texas would beat K-State, I would walk into the door at church. He's the preacher's son. He's the preacher's kid. He'd walk into me at church and he'd go, K-State lost. And I'd be like, how about I break your head off? How about that?
Church.
Like, how about that? So every time I would see him and K-State would beat Texas, we did for a couple of years there in the mid 2000s with Ron Prince, ironically. We did there in the mid teens there. I every time that I saw him, when we beat them in basketball, I'd walk in and I'd say, hey, Aaron, hey, Aaron. And he'd be like, what? And I'd be like, Texas lost. Texas freaking lost, dude. Like, Texas lost. I hate Texas. That's why. I solely attribute it to him. So thank you, Aaron. You have compiled an entire collection of rants for me on my show. Jeez.
I hope your shoulders feel lighter.
They don't. They feel heavier. But it was nice to say something directly about that. I've kept that inside for too long. This is therapeutic. Thank you for being my therapy partners, everybody here. I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you tomorrow night. You've been listening to Training Camp with Kolby Van Camp on Wildcat 91.9 KSDB Manhattan. What's going on, YouTube? This is Kolby Van Camp here, the host of Training Camp on Kansas State University student radio station Wildcat 91.9 FM. If you like the content that I've been putting out, be sure to hit the like button, smash subscribe, and ring the heck out of that bell so that you never miss another one of my shows again.